Chair, and thank you for the invitation to put forward Sinn Féin's proposals on voting rights for Irish people living outside of the state. While Sinn Féin welcomes the communication from the European Commission addressing the consequences of disenfranchisement of union citizens, Sinn Féin's position on voting rights for Irish citizens living outside the state predates this communication and extends beyond EU member states and has everything to do with our principle of equal citizenship. The current situation of legislated disenfranchisement of citizens resident outside the state is, we believe, in effect an unequal two-tiered citizenship. Sinn Féin supports full voting rights to all Irish citizens of voting age to vote for the Irish presidency, and regardless of their place of residence, which gives effect to Articles 2 and 3 as amended by the Good Friday Agreement. Emigrant citizens are effectively immediately disenfranchised upon departure, and Irish citizens, dual citizens living in the north, cannot exercise their constitutional right to vote. So we currently have an anomaly in the state whereby Irish citizens living outside the state may stand for the presidency and serve if elected, but may not vote for the president. So we therefore support the introduction of an express constitutional guarantee of the right to vote for all Irish citizens of voting age in presidential elections. The method by which this right is exercised is a matter for ordinary legislation, not the Constitution. However, we would caution that care should be taken to ensure that Northern Unionists may also exercise this right should they so choose, without requiring them to compromise their identity or ethos. Sinn Féin welcomed the Constitutional Convention report on voting rights for Irish citizens living outside the state in terms of presidential elections, which found that 78% were in favour of extending voting rights. But we also note that the 4-month deadline has passed by which the government are expected to respond, and we would urge on Taoiseach to at least call a Dáil debate on the matter. But we would also ask that that debate would be extended to looking at Oireachtas representation for Irish citizens living outside the state. In terms of voting rights regarding the Oireachtas, Sinn Féin's position is twofold. With the relation to diasporic representation, we see the diaspora as fundamentally important to the Irish nation, historically and today. And if we can ask our emigrant citizens and those of Irish ancestry to support Ireland financially and in the peace process, and to otherwise maintain and promote our cultural heritage abroad, then we feel it's not unreasonable to offer those passport holders who care enough to register and to vote a limited form of representation in the Oireachtas. Sinn Féin's proposal is that that would take the form of a reserved constituency, and the reserved constituency model then neutralises any concerns that people may have about of the electoral results by our large diasporic population. This would require an amendment to Article 16 of the Constitution, and Sinn Féin also does not support time limits on diasporic voting, and instead what we would call for is that the diaspora would regularly register to demonstrate their ongoing connection and intention to vote. In relation to Irish citizens living in the north, we recognise that the Oireachtas is not the Parliament of a united Ireland, but northern citizens are nevertheless affected directly and indirectly by many of the decisions and laws that are made by the Oireachtas. Therefore, northern citizens should have the right to appropriate representation in the legislature as a form of equal treatment for their identity, ethos and aspirations guaranteed by the Irish Government under the Good Friday Agreement. So what we propose is that democratically elected MPs for northern constituencies be accorded automatic membership of the Dáil, where they could exercise full rights of representation on matters that they consider to be of relevance to their constituents, subject to such reasonable parameters appropriate to their non-residence in the state as may be set out in legislation. Those MPs who would choose not to take their seats should nevertheless be afforded attendance and speaking rights on matters of direct concern to their home constituencies. In relation to the Seanad, Sinn Féin's position is that the diaspora and northern citizens should be represented in a reformed Seanad that is fully inclusive, representative and accountable. And we see this as taking the format of specified diasporic representation and a specified northern representation. So I suppose in conclusion, Chair, Sinn Féin fully supports the extension of voting rights to those Irish citizens living outside the state, and that we are obliged to do so not just under EU obligations but also under the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. So what we have seen is the public will is there. That's been shown in numerous polls. It's also been shown at the results of the Constitutional Convention, and what's now required is the political will to introduce it. So.